Today I'll be making a banana nut bread. You're watching the Bear Pantry Show. Did you know that if you don't have measuring cups like this that measures the fractions, you can totally improvise with other measuring cups. For instance, this recipe calls for 1 3/4, so this is a half cup and this is a 1/4 cup to make the 3/4. It calls for 1 teaspoon, and if I didn't have that teaspoon, I could do half a teaspoon twice. You'll need 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, half cup sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/3 cup of butter, and 1 cup of ripe mashed bananas. There's nothing hard to making the banana bread or the banana nut bread. I didn't show you nuts at the start when I showed you the ingredients because I was still deciding if I was going to use or not, and we'll decide that on the way, okay? I've added the butter and the sugar together, much like making a cake. I'm going to put it here in our KitchenAid, or you want to use your hand mixer if you have one, and you just put it on the cream for a few minutes. When the butter is well blended together, the next step, we want to add our baking powder to our flour bowl. And then we want to get our really overripe banana peeled and mashed. Sometimes I've used bananas that kind of sizzle when you open them from the skin. This one is just ripe enough. I'm going to get a fork. And this is going to be considered our wet ingredients when making this bread, okay? And this bread is cholesterol free because it's not made with any eggs. And we want to get right at about a cup for the measurement. So let's see. We could have even done it with maybe 3 bananas and still kind of stuff it in there to get right at about a cup, alright? So the next step, just like with making a cake, we want to get our KitchenAid going again, and we're going to start incorporating dry ingredient and a wet ingredient until it's all used up. After adding all the ingredients, you want to remove the bowl from the KitchenAid. And by the way, guys, you can also use just a big spoon to stir this, okay, kind of like a cookie dough. You just want to fold this over to make sure that everything was mixed in well, okay? And now I have a really small loaf pan, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this batter into my loaf pan. If I can get it out, huh? Using the spatula, just go ahead and spread the batter out to make it even in the pan. And then now it's time to add our nuts. And I've decided on using some nuts, and I'm using pecans. Let's get it in there. I want a little bit to be mixed inside of our batter also, but I want the majority to remain on the top. Now let's get this into the toaster oven. Set the temperature on 350 and set the toaster oven to bake. And I've set the dial to 50 minutes because it only needs to be baked for 40 to 45 minutes, but I believe the toaster oven needs about 5 minutes to heat up. Here we go. It took a little bit more than the 40 minutes because it's the toaster oven, so it took closer to an hour to cook. And this is how we check to make sure it's done. We insert a toothpick, and if it comes out clean like this, then it's pretty much done. Let's get it out of the oven. You want to take it from the pan and set it on a wire rack to cool. And then after it's cooled down completely, you can cut the first slice. Alright, you guys, here comes the first couple of slices. Take a look how gorgeous it is. Let me see if I can get you a close-up on what the loaves look like. It's not wet on the inside, it's not clammy. Isn't it gorgeous? It's still warm. We could put some butter on this or not. And look, see how the nuts are on the top more? I did that so that if Jory wanted to eat a piece, he could just cut off that piece and just eat the bread because he's really not a fan of nuts. So here we go, our beautiful loaf. To purchase copies of my book, just visit my website at bearpantryshow.com and click on the store tab. Now this is a great way to ensure that bananas don't go to waste, right? Every time we get to the end of a hand of banana, we always have a couple, 2 or 3, that's going bad. And then I decide to make a banana loaf like this. I don't always put the nuts in. That's why you saw me kind of decide last minute to put the nuts in because my son Jory hates anything with nuts in it. So I decided to put the nuts on the top and just gonna fold it in a little bit so at least you can get a little bit off the bottom, right? It smells gorgeous in here right now, you guys. This tastes great. And you saw how I tested it, right? Just stick a toothpick inside. If it comes out clean, we're good. If the bread is like fatter, like a little bit thicker like that from top to bottom, you might want to use a barbecue skewer to stick it in there so you don't get burned. One of my little tips. But anyways, this recipe is in a book that I'm selling right now. Thank you guys for picking up that book. You guys have been so gracious and kind to, to purchase that book for me. And thank you for liking the show. Thank you for subscribing. And until I see you guys again, take care.